Join me as I dive into the mind-bending world of optical illusions and challenge myself to figure out why our brains get tricked by them. Optical illusions are a fascinating phenomenon that has been puzzling humans for centuries. They have the power to deceive our brains, making us question what is real and what is not. But what's even more intriguing is that these illusions can reveal a lot about how our brains process visual information and how we perceive the world around us. Many of us assume that our brains process visual information in a straightforward manner. But the truth is that our brains are wired to make assumptions and fill in gaps in our perception. One common misconception is that our eyes send a complete and accurate picture of the world to our brains. But in reality, our brains are constantly making educated guesses about what we're seeing. This is where optical illusions come in. They exploit these assumptions and trick our brains into seeing something that's not really there. Another misconception is that our brains process visual information in a linear fashion. But in reality, it's a complex interplay of multiple factors. Our brains take into account context, past experiences, and expectations when interpreting visual signals. This means that two people can look at the same image and see different things, simply because their brains are using different assumptions and experiences to interpret the visual data. Optical illusions also reveal the incredible flexibility of our brains. Our brains are capable of reorganizing and rewriting visual information in real time, which allows us to adapt to changing environments and learn new things. However, this flexibility can also lead to errors and misperceptions, which is why optical illusions can be so convincing. So, how do our brains actually interpret visual signals, and what role do context and expectations play in this process? When light enters our eyes, it stimulates cells called photoreceptors, which send electrical signals to the brain. The brain then interprets these signals using context and expectations to fill in gaps and make sense of the visual information. This is where the science of optical illusions gets really interesting. Our brains use something called top-down processing to interpret visual signals. This means that our higher-level cognitive abilities, such as expectations and past experiences, influence how we perceive the world. For example, if we're looking at a picture of a dog, our brain uses our prior knowledge of what dogs look like to interpret the visual signals and create a mental image of a dog. However, if the image is ambiguous or incomplete, our brains can get tricked into seeing something that's not really there. The role of context is also crucial in optical illusions. Our brains use the surrounding environment to help interpret visual signals. For instance, if we're looking at a picture of a shape that's partially occluded by another object, our brain uses the context of the surrounding environment to make educated guesses about what the shape might look like. However, if the context is misleading or ambiguous, our brains can get tricked into seeing something that's not really there. One of the most fascinating examples of an optical illusion is the checker shadow illusion. This illusion shows two squares, one of which appears to be lighter than the other. However, the amazing thing about this illusion is that the two squares are actually the same shade of gray. Our brains are tricked into seeing a difference because of the context of the surrounding environment and the shadows that are cast on the squares. This illusion is so captivating because it challenges our perception of reality and makes us question what is real and what is not. It's a powerful reminder that our brains are constantly making assumptions and filling in gaps in our perception, and that these assumptions can sometimes lead to errors and misperceptions. So what can we learn from optical illusions? These illusions reveal the incredible complexity and flexibility of our brains and show us that perception is not always a straightforward process. By understanding how our brains process visual information, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the amazing abilities of our brains and the incredible ways in which they can be tricked. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the mind-bending world of optical illusions. If you've got a favorite optical illusion, be sure to share it with me in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about the fascinating world of perception and brain function, be sure to check out my next video on the topic. See you in the next one.